Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Vikas Jain from BS Anangpuria Institute of Pharmacy, Faridabad. Today, I am going to talk about the module Suspension Part 2 that incorporates development and stability aspects from Product Development 1. The learning object of this particular module is formulation development of suspension, stability problems of suspensions, product development with illustrative examples, and evaluation and packaging of suspensions. Suspensions are liquids containing one or more active ingredients suspended in a suitable vehicle. Suspended solids may slowly separate on standing but are easily resuspended. Suspension is a mode of supplying insoluble and often distasteful substances in a form that is pleasant to the taste. It provides a suitable form for the application of dermatological materials to the skin and sometimes to the mucous membranes and parenteral administration of insoluble drugs. The major problem is uniformity and accuracy of dose, which is not as comparable to the tablets, capsules, or solutions. Sedimentation and compaction of the sediment cause problem that is by no means always easy to solve. Additionally, the product is liquid and relatively bulky. These properties are disadvantageous to both pharmacist and patient. Formulation of an effective and pharmaceutically elegant suspension is usually much harder to achieve than that of tablet or capsule of same drug. As we learned from former module on suspension, that by utilizing optimum amount of surface active agents, the free energy of system cannot be brought to a value of 0. Hence, we cannot control settling of particles. Alternate approach could be reduction in surface area for decreasing the energy associated with the suspension or achieving controlled flocculation. Various methods for formation of suspension discussed in this module will help us to identify the best process for generation of stable suspension. Apart from this, various factors responsible for suspension instability should be identified and measures to be taken accordingly to formulate an elegant and stable formulation. Current section deals with the various preparative techniques, stability considerations, product development aspects, and evaluation parameters for efficient processing of suspension. The process involved in the suspension formation is shown here. The flocculated state C may be reached either directly by wetting and dispersing hydrophobic particles with a suitable flocculating agent, or else by first wetting and dispersing to produce a dispersed or deflocculated state B with a suitable surfactant, and then flocculating with a suitable agent such as hydrophilic colloid or polyelectrolyte. In contrast to deflocculated or peptized particles, flocculated suspension C, which are considered pharmaceutically stable, although colloidally unstable, can always be redispersed with gentle agitation. Addition of too much flocculating agent results in overflocculation and tends to produce agglomerated or coagulated irreversible system. E. The term plaque, plate light, is used to describe essentially flat agglomerates, whereas term coagula, clump-like, are reserved for thicker three-dimensional particle masses. In the absence of a protective colloid, the process of crystal growth is indicated by the arrow connecting A to point D. Three precipitation methods are discussed in this section. First one is organic solvent precipitation. Second one is precipitation by changing the pH. And third one is double decomposition. Organic solvent precipitation. Water insoluble drugs can be precipitated by dissolving them in water miscible organic solvents and then adding the organic phases to distilled water under standard conditions. Factors to be considered includes particle size controlled, correct polymorphic form or hydrate of the crystal, inherent solvent entrapment and subsequent toxicity, volume ratios of organic to aqueous phase, rate and method of addition of one phase to other, temperature control, method of drying the precipitate, and washing of precipitate. Second method is precipitation by pH change. This method is only applicable to drugs with pH-dependent solubility. For example, estradiol suspensions can be prepared by changing the pH of its aqueous solution. Insulin suspensions also may be prepared via pH change method. Protamine zinc insulin contains an excessive quantity of zinc to retard absorption. Adrenocorticotropin, that is ACTH, zinc suspension are prepared in a similar manner. The precipitate formed in the process is zinc hydroxide or zinc phosphate on which the ACTH is adsorbed. The addition of phosphate salts and organic phosphate to prepare an even longer acting ACTH preparation is also possible if suspension has been prepared through this method. We'll now discuss dispersion method. When the dispersion method is utilized for suspension preparation, the vehicle must be formulated so that the solid phase is easily weighted and dispersed. The use of surfactants is desirable to ensure uniform wetting of hydrophobic solids. The use of suspending agents such as the synthetic polymeric polyelectrolytes, natural gums, or clay may be indicated depending on the specific application. The actual method of dispersing the solid is one of the more important considerations because particle size reduction may or may not result from the dispersion process. If particle size reduction occurs, the particles obtained may have different solubilities if a metastable state is involved, and this may lead to transient supersaturation of the system. A number of dispersion methods are used to prepare suspension products. For present purposes, there is no need to describe and discuss the commuting and sharing equipments commercially available because information on such equipments is easily available in pharmaceutical engineering section. The actual preparation of suspensions involve choosing the ingredients, utilizing principles already discussed, and determining the type of manufacturing equipment to be used. Needless to say, each suspension is a separate case and absolute generalization is not possible. If the suspension is made by dispersion process, it is best to achieve pulverization of the solid by a micronization technique. This involves subjecting the particles to a turbulent air chamber in which they colloid with each other and fracture. Particles under 5 microns are readily obtained, although it is not widely used for this purpose. Spray drying can also be considered a method of combination to produce a finely divided solid phase. If the suspension is made by controlled crystallization, a supersaturated solution should be formed and then quickly cooled with rapid stirring. This causes the formation of many nuclei and hence many crystals. It is just the opposite of letting crystals grow large. A few general guidelines for product development of suspension includes wetting of particles is better achieved by keeping them in contact with a small portion of vehicle containing an appropriate quantity of wetting agent without agitation. Suspending agent should be dispersed in main portion of the vehicle and sufficient time to be provided to attain proper viscosity. The slurry of wetted particles should be added at low shear to main portion of suspending agent. Electrolyte addition, as far as concerned, it should be properly controlled to prevent variation in the particle charge. And last, all the finished suspensions must be carefully preserved against bacterial growth. During suspension formation, homogenization can be accomplished either by conventional stator-rotor colloid mills or utilizing ultrasonic equipments. Excessive shearing or high temperatures may irreversibly damage polymeric materials such as gums. Alternative ways may include provide necessary time to hydrate with mild shearing, or mix gum with a chlorinated hydrocarbon, acetone, or alcoholic solution of a wetting agent, for example sodium dioctyl sulfosuccinate, or about 0.4% based on gum weight of the wetting agent should be added to the gum. You can utilize 3 of the alternate means. We will now discuss controlled flocculation. The aim in the formulation of suspensions is to achieve partial or controlled flocculation. The main advantages of the stable flock is that the aggregates tend to break up easily under the agitation of a bottle or a vial, or by the flow through a small orifice, a hypodermic needle or a syringe, and reform an extended network of particles after the force is removed. Flocculation therefore imparts a structure to the suspension with virtually no increase in viscosity. Let us know how suspensions may be prepared by controlled flocculation procedures. The wetting agent not more than 0.1 to 0.2% weight by volume of final concentration is dissolved in approximately half the volume of aqueous vehicle. Microfine particles of the drug at the desired concentration are uniformly spread over the surface of the vehicle, and drug is allowed to be wetted for 16 hours. The wetted slurry is passed through a fine wire sieve 100 mesh size, or wetted slurry is passed through a colloid mill to remove poorly wetted powders. The slurry concentrate of the drug is agitated gently with an impeller type mixer. To slurry, flocculating agent is added till flocculation end point is reached. To determine the end point, small samples are transferred to a graduated cylinder and an equal amount of vehicle is added, and the cylinders are gently shaken and permitted to stand undisturbed. The sample with the highest ratio of sediment to total suspension volume, exhibiting a clear supernatant and good drainage characteristics, is considered to be at the appropriate endpoint. After the flocculation endpoint has been established and verified, the other formulation adjuvants, that is preservative, colorant, flavor, buffers, etc., can be added, and the slurry is brought to final volume with the liquid vehicle. Let us discuss concept of preparing dispersed system. Individual particles in dispersed system are generally dispersed with the aid of an agent that lowers the interfacial tension. To maintain this state, however, a viscosity imparting suspending agent is usually required. These agents retard settling and agglomeration of particles by functioning as an energy barrier, which minimizes interparticle interaction and ultimate aggregation. The general choice of suspending agents includes protective colloids, viscosity-inducing agents, surfactants, and dispersing agents. Combination of different types of suspending agent may also be used to achieve desired rheological properties. In order to meet the requirement of dispersed system, the concept of structured vehicle can be used, in which the viscosity of the preparation under static condition a very low shear on storage approaches infinity. The vehicle is said to behave like a false body, that is, able to maintain the suspended particle in a state of more or less permanent suspension. Structured vehicles are avoided for the preparation of parenteral suspensions owing to their high viscosity. Whenever we are discussing a structured vehicle, we can differentiate between material on the basis of chemical structure or the type of flow they do exhibit. The first category is Bingham type plastic flow. In this, vehicle needs to overcome a finite yield stress before flow is initiated. Permanent suspension requires yield stress value of at least 2 to 5 pascals. Bingham plastic flow is specifically produced by carbomers. Carbomers exhibit a sufficiently high yield value at low solution concentration and low viscosity to produce permanent suspensions. Second category of flow is thixotropic flow. It is reversible, time-dependent, isothermal gel-salt transition. It results from the breakdown and buildup of floccules under stress. Thixotropic systems exhibit easy flow at high shear rates, viscosity, and sufficiently high yield stress at rest. Pseudoplastic materials such as hydroxyethyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, or sodium carboxymethyl cellulose in combination with a clay, that is hydrated colloidal magnesium aluminum silicate, or blends and co-precipitates of sodium carboxymethyl cellulose and microcrystalline cellulose exhibit thixotropic flow. The last category is emulsion base. It is a waxy type self-emulsifier that develop structure or false body in suspension systems. It involves potential complexities involved in the mixing, emulsion, and suspension system. The drug particles are dispersed in the primary emulsion component prior to dilution with other vehicle components. Let us now take an illustrative example of suspension with a low solid content. Table on the slide illustrates the components that are required to prepare a model parenteral suspension. This route of administration limits the formulator to a rather narrow range of additives. The samples are best prepared by making a concentrate of the dispersant in a volume equal to 10% of the final volume by thoroughly mixing in the active ingredient with the help of a colloidal mill or other devices and adding the remaining components to a solution of preservatives. The latter should be prepared using about 80% of final total volume. This solution is then added to the portion containing the active ingredient and sufficient purified water is added to bring it to the final volume. Note that the preservatives are added in a slightly excess amount to compensate for their binding to polysorbate 80. This binding has been shown to inactivate the preservative in direct proportion to the amount bound. The observation that can be made with respect to the table is, for sample A, no dispersion or very little weighting of solid is achieved. This may depend on the recrystallization solvent, that is acetone versus dimethyl formamide. For sample B, good dispersion, rapid settling and caking can be observed. For sample C, good dispersion, rapid settling, severe caking, poor redispersibility and deaggregation can be observed. For sample D, good dispersion, rapid settling and slight aggregation can be observed. For sample E, good dispersion, slow settling and moderate aggregation can be observed. For sample F, good dispersion, slow settling, and fine aggregation can be observed. For sample G, good dispersion, slow settling, and aggregation can be observed. For sample H, good dispersion, slow settling, and coarse aggregation can be observed. It is important to note that protective colloid such as polyethylene glycol 4000, carboxymethyl cellulose sodium, and methyl cellulose all modify these characteristics. Sorbitol or dextrose can be included to adjust density. We will now discuss stability concepts and consideration. Stability in case of suspension involve measurement of aggregation, sedimentation, and particle growth. Stability problem occur in suspension in order to reduce delta Z, that is free energy. In order to reduce free energy, surface area of milled drug particles reduce continuously either by aggregation or by particle growth, resulting in increase in particle size, which ultimately results in higher sedimentation rates. Aggregation may include coagulation and flocculation. Von Smoluchowski derived equation for rapid aggregation and slow aggregation. Slow aggregation is an important concern for formulator because slow aggregation may results in a formation of dense cake. So, time for decrease in number of singulates by 50% because of aggregation is given by T half equals to 1 divided by 4dr n0 alpha, in which D is diffusion coefficient of singulates, R is gas constant, and n0 is initial number of singulates, and alpha is the collision efficiency. Under stability consideration, sedimentation rate is a very important parameter. According to Stokes' law, the rate of sedimentation can be retarded most effectively by controlling the particle diameter or radius and the viscosity of medium. However, Stokes' law is applicable only to dilute systems in which solid content is less than 2%. To take into consideration the concentrated system that is beyond 10% of solid content, Higuchi developed a separate equation with fewer limitation. He considered settling phenomena to be equivalent to movement of liquid medium through the bed of dispersed phase. Another parameter under discussion is particle growth. The surface free energy for the small particles is greater than for the larger particles. In some systems, therefore, small particles will be appreciably more stable than the larger ones. For such systems, small fluctuations in the temperature will result in crystal growth, as the small particles dissolve with the rise in temperature and then crystallize at the surface of the existing particles with a temperature drop. Thus, the larger particles will grow in size at the expense of the smaller particles. The suspension will become coarser as the mean particle size spectrum shifts to higher values. Many gums adsorb onto the crystal surfaces and thus can be used to inhibit crystal growth. The size distribution of dispersed system may increase during aging owing to four principal mechanisms. First one is Ostwald ripening, polymorphic transformations, crystal habit, and temperature cycling. Since suspensions are saturated solution of particulate substances, small changes in temperature that occur during self-storage lead to unexpectedly rapid caking by a crystal bridging, much in the same way that crystal growth yields can be optimized by alternately warming and cooling a mother crystallization liquor. This process, known as Ostwald ripening, it is unavoidable in pharmaceutical suspensions of the dispersed type. Suspensions of the dispersed type tend to cake easily, owing to the compact sedimentation that occurs when these suspensions settle. The basis for Oswald ripening is found in this equation that applies to the equilibrium solubility of small particles. Log n S divided by S0 equals 2 gamma V divided by small r multiplied by capital R multiplied by T, where S0 is the solubility of infinitely large particles, S is the solubility of small particles of radius r, gamma is the surface tension, and V is the molar volume of the solid. Another point under discussion is polymorphic transformation. Polymorphism is applied to crystals, specifically refers to the different crystal structure the same chemical compound may have. The difference in equilibrium solubility of polymorphs provides a driving force for crystal growth in suspension, as the particles of the more soluble polymorph go into solution and reprecipitate as the less soluble, that is more stable form. This process is accelerated if the drug powder used to prepare the suspension contains a mixture of polymorphs, or if a seed of the more stable form is introduced. The rate of conversion of a metastable to stable polymorph may be rapid or slow. When this rate of conversion is very slow, it may be feasible to use the metastable form commercially. Another point is crystal habit. Crystal habit may be defined as the outward appearance of an agglomeration of crystals. Although seemingly trivial, crystal habit can be of great importance in suspension, redispersibility, sedimentation, physical stability, and appearance. For example, sulfisoxazole agglomerate of the crystals can have physical properties vastly different from those of single crystals. Most crystal habit morphology is of a nondescript form. Rigid crystalline structure is not responsible for the agglomeration of crystals. Weak van der Waals interactions occurring at crystal surfaces hold the agglomerate of crystals in form. Mostly, this occurs as non-geometrically classifiable clumps. Temperature cycling may lead to crystal growth, as solubility depends on temperature. In most cases, solubility is directly related to temperature, so that a slight rise in temperature leads to an increased equilibrium solubility. A drop in temperature, however slight, results in a supersaturated solution surrounding each particle. Precipitation occurs to relieve the supersaturation and crystal growth occurs. The temperature effects depend on the magnitude of the change in temperature over a given period of time, the time interval, the effect of temperature on the solubility of suspended drug, and on recrystallization phenomena. Since stability testing is discussed elsewhere in the pharmaceutical literature, the only emphasis in this module is on the most pertinent aspect of suspension stability. Techniques for the evaluation of heterogeneous system generally are complex and are far from being completely satisfactory. Some test methods are so drastic that the stability information is obtained during an evaluation that destroys the system being evaluated. Some methods are somewhat empiric in nature, that is, the exact basis on which they operate cannot be explicitly defined mathematically. All test procedures suffer from some known limitations, and as a result must be cautiously evaluated and interpreted. as the methodology involved in the pertinent stability studies is often somewhat complicated, this section of the chapter is more fully referenced so that further details can be obtained if desired. The purpose here is to point out explicitly one method and then indicate only the general nature of some of the other approaches taken. Use of evaluation techniques permits the formulator to screen the initial preparations made and also to compare the improved formulations to competitive commercial products. The later point should not be treated lightly, even though it does not deal with the absolute standards. Sedimentation volume as a parameter for evaluating suspension stability. Sedimentation volume is the ratio of the ultimate height of the sediment to the initial height of the total suspension as it settles in a cylinder under standard condition. The larger this ratio, better is the suspensibility. For better formulations, a plot of sedimentation volume versus time yields more horizontal, less steep line. In case of highly concentrated suspensions, supernatant available is very little to determine the HU parameter. Hence, a modified experimental method is used. The concentrated suspensions are diluted with additional vehicle and HU values for diluted suspensions are determined. HO value equals to the original volume of sample before dilution. Sedimentation volumes thus obtained are plotted against the time and compared for different formulations. Whenever we are going to measure sedimentation volume in a flocculated and deflocculated suspension, in the same time we will observe the sediment height of flocculated suspension is more than deflocculated suspension. The probable reason is formation of bridges in case of flocculated suspension, while formation of hard cake in case of deflocculated suspension. So while we are trying to redisperse both of the suspension, flocculated suspension will get redisperses easily, while deflocculated suspension will not get redispersed. One additional concept should also be considered by the formulator, that is the degree of flocculation. It is the ratio of sedimentation volume of flocculated suspension to the sedimentation volume that would be produced in the ultimate dispersed state. So it has been depicted as F divided by F infinity. To obtain the completely dispersed suspension form, which represents the least void space for solid phase and hence the smallest sedimentation volume, electrolytes that promote settling may be added or the preparation may be centrifuged. The ratio of HU by H0 observed is then the lowest figure obtainable. This figure serves as a baseline and gives some idea of degree of aggregation obtained because ratios higher than this minimum represent the existence of the desired aggregated state. In reference to the plots discussed earlier, it is clear that data that produce a line that quickly drops toward this reference point do not represent a good suspension, as any aggregation, if there is any at all, is too temporary and infirm. As noted, the evaluation of redispersibility is also important. To help quantitate this parameter to some extent, a mechanical shaking device may be used. It simulates human arm motion during the shaking process and can give reproducible results when used under controlled conditions. It should be remembered, however, that the test conditions are not the same as those encountered under actual use, and further testing should be considered. Nevertheless, the test results are useful and provide guidance during screening procedures. A practical rheologic method utilizes a Brookfield biscometer mounted on a helipath stand. The T-bar spindle is made to descend slowly into suspension. The resistance that spindle meets at various levels in sediment is measured. This resistance is direct measure of structure formation due to agglomeration at different levels. Data can be obtained by variously aged and stored samples. A plot of resistance versus the number of tons a spindle takes may also be useful. Better suspensions show a lesser rate of increase of resistance with spindle tons. That is, curve is horizontal for a longer period. It is important to note that the use of most viscometers and centrifuges in stability studies is not ideal for aggregated systems because their use destroys the structure formed. The next technique for evaluation of suspension stability is electrokinetic techniques. Microelectrophoresis apparatus permits the measurement of the migration velocity of the particles with respect to the surface electric charge or the familiar zeta potential. The latter has units of viscosity times electrophoretic mobility or more familiarly volts. Stenko and DK also evaluated suspensions by electrokinetic methods and suggested that zeta potential changes upon the addition of additives and is related to stability. Haynes and Martin studied some of the formulation factors that influence the stability of suspensions. They correlated the zeta potential to visually observed caking. Zeta potential was again determined by microscopic electrophoresis. It was found that certain zeta potentials produced more stable suspensions because aggregation was controlled and optimized. The apparatus is standardized by the use of particles of known zeta potential, and rabbit erythrocytes are commonly used for this particular purpose. The next parameter under evaluation of suspension stability is particle size changes. The suspension under evaluation are subjected to freeze-thaw cycle, which causes particle growth and may indicate the probable future particle behavior on long storage at room temperature. The changes in particle size distribution, and crystal habit are noted. Particle size can be determined by microscopic means, and photomicrographs can serve as permanent records. The last evaluation parameter is preservation stability. Various ingredients present in the formulation may interact with the preservatives and thus may lead to either certain chemical incompatibilities or loss of preservative efficacy. Hence, to retain preservation capacity of formulation, certain analytical procedures should be developed. One such assay developed by Schiffer in 1984 described the rationale for using methyl, ethyl, propyl and butyl esters of para-hydroxybenzoic acids in combination with antacids and other pharmaceutical products. The antacids have high pH values and hence hydrolysis of the esters occurs, but the decomposition of the parent compound can be prevented by properly controlling the concentration. One most important consideration during development of suspension dosage form is packaging. Perhaps the final adjuvant one should consider is the package. Usually, initial laboratory screening employs conventional graduates or readily available bottles. When final packaging is considered, it should be noted that various types of glass are available. The types vary with respect to their ability to resist water attack, the degree of attack being related to the amount of alkali released from the glass. So, for packaging pharmaceutical suspension, non-lead, highly color-free Toda-Lime silica glasses or the most common general-purpose transparent or amber color glasses are utilized. They can be silicone coated to improve the drainage, or otherwise polyethylene or other plastic containers can also be used. Factors to be considered while selecting a packaging material includes loss of flair and perfume, preservative adsorption, and leaching of substances from the container. These things should be evaluated and controlled while selecting a packaging material. Certain specific guidelines for stabilizing suspensions can be provided. First thing is Colidon 90F in the concentration of 2 to 5% suffices to stabilize aqueous suspensions. A combination consisting of Colidon 90F 2% and Colidon CLM 5 to 9% has proved to be an effective system for stabilizing suspensions. Colidon 30 is also used for this purpose. It can be combined with all conventional suspension stabilizers, that is thickeners and surfactants, etc. The addition of 5 to 9% Colidon CLM has practically no effect in changing the viscosity, but it strongly reduces the rate of sedimentation and facilitates the redispersibility. The poloxamers Lutrol F68 and Lutrol F127 in concentrations of 2 to 5% of final weight of suspension offer a further opportunity of stabilizing suspensions. They also do not increase viscosity when used in these amounts and can be combined with all other conventional suspension stabilizers. A recent advancement in case of suspension is nanosuspension. Nowadays, suspensions with dispersed particles in the range of 0.1 to 0.2 microns are developed that are known as nanosuspensions. These are widely used as drug delivery systems. Although theoretical and formulation considerations involved in the development of nanosuspensions are similar to those of conventional suspensions, but the nano size range of particle imparts some unique properties to these delivery systems. At nano dimensions, surface properties of material dominate in lieu of the bulk properties. Particles at nano size range undergoes continuous Brownian motion and does not follow Stokes' law. Thus, unlike conventional suspensions, nanosuspensions do not tend to settle down and are thermodynamically more stable. The major advantage of pharmaceutical nanosuspensions is their ability to increase the solubility and in bioavailability of highly water-insoluble drugs. So, students, let us now summarize about the learning of this module from today's application. Suspension form an important class of pharmaceutical dosage forms. These dispersed systems present many formulations, stability, manufacturing and packaging challenges. Almost all suspension systems separate on standing. The formulator's main concern is not necessarily to eliminate separation, but rather to decrease the rate of settling and to permit easy resuspendability of any settled particulate matter. A satisfactory suspension must remain sufficiently homogeneous for at least the period of time necessary to remove and administer the required dose after shaking its container. Thank you.